A democracy that's strong, fair, and true depends on you. Introducing onAir, a nonprofit, nonpartisan digital democracy network. It's a hub that connects citizens with their government and with the candidates, the issues, and each other.
Good afternoon. I'm Connor Oatman, and I will be your host for today's US onAir Aircast. Our sponsor today is Democracy on Air, a nonpartisan nonprofit that supports the US onAir network of 50 governance and election hubs at us.onair.cc. Our Aircast today will focus on the topic of ranked choice voting. For some more background on this issue, we have a short video here.
So what is ranked choice voting? In most parts of the United States, voters select a single candidate for each position on their ballot, and the candidate with the most votes wins. This is known as single-choice winner-take-all, which can sometimes result in the election of a candidate who earned only a small percentage of the vote, even when the majority of voters supported other candidates. But that's not the only way of electing our leaders. Ranked choice voting is another voting method which allows voters to rank their candidates in order of preference. In a ranked choice voting election, a candidate needs to earn more than half of the votes to win. All first choices are counted, and if a candidate has a majority, then they win, just like any other election. If not, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who picked that candidate as number one will have their votes count for their next choice. This process continues until a candidate earns a majority and is declared the winner. Let's look at an example. Here, you select orange as your first choice candidate, yellow as your second, pink as your third, and green as your final choice. The first choices are counted. Yellow earned 35%, orange 21%, pink earned 28%, and green earned 16% of the vote. Because nobody won more than 50%, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who picked him as their first choice have their ballots count for their second choice. This continues until a candidate receives more than half of the votes, or 50% plus 1.
Here we have a video from Eve Armstrong with a 1-minute speak up on ranked choice voting.
My name is Eve Armstrong, and my Congressman Don Beyer is a proponent of ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is a voting method that allows voters to rank their candidates by preference. This voting system is known to increase collaboration among candidates, and in my opinion, it's a very viable solution for bridging the harsh partisan divide that exists in America right now. I want to see more people get on board with ranked choice voting. Congressman Beyer, let's help spread the word at US onAir.
To help us understand more about the topic of ranked choice voting, we have invited Jim Lillard. Jim is the current director of US Democracy on Air. Thank you for being with us, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Connor.
So to start with, I wanted to ask you, which communities do you think the implementation of ranked choice voting would have the greatest impact?
I think initially you would see the greatest impact in some of your larger, more diverse districts. I think this because initially, at least until the two major parties adapt to the ranked choice system, the biggest impact you're going to see is with third party or other sort of types of alternative candidates who just would never really have a chance against either of the big two. But if you have a system where people are voting for their favorites, all of a sudden, somebody from a third party can sneak in above a first or second if you have a district where, let's say, Republicans are particularly strong, Democrats are not, but there's a libertarian candidate who can come in there and play spoiler a little bit. And, the same thing could happen in the Democratic area with, a Green Party or some other left-leaning third party. I think that's where you're going to see the biggest impact initially. Once the parties adjust to it, then we have to kind of reassess. But I think that's where you see it in the first place.
Okay. And how effective do you think the implementation of ranked choice voting will be nationwide?
That depends very much on the willingness of the parties to adopt it. And that's going to be the biggest struggle, because the fact of the matter is you're asking folks who gained political power via certain means, once they're there, to change that means. And there's going to be a certain amount of reluctance to do so. There are, politicians in Congress who have advocated for this, but by and large, change is going to come slowly and with a lot of work, because, again, this worked for them. Why would they want to change it? There would have to be a very healthy voter appetite for this that they really couldn't ignore, I think. And it would have to be widespread enough that it wouldn't just be a Democratic or Republican issue, because if it's particularly strong in one camp, the other is going to shoot it right down. That's just where we are in politics right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your insight, Jim.
You're welcome.
Moving on, we will now be having a discussion panel for our topic of ranked choice voting. Our panel today has on it Eve Armstrong, a student majoring in global affairs at George Mason University, Ben Murphy, a student majoring in government and international politics at George Mason University, as well as, again, our featured guest and the director of U.S. Democracy on Air, Jim Lillard. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to get an opinion from each of you on whether or not you support ranked choice voting and why. Any of you can feel free to start.
Yeah, I can start here. I think that ranked choice voting, I think it's a pretty interesting concept. I think that there's a lot of good critiques of the winner-take-all system, but I feel I'm a bit more moderate on the idea, mainly because while I understand the criticisms of the winner-take-all system, and I do think obviously it creates a two-party system, I think that has been shown to be fairly effective, arguably. And I think that a ranked choice system is definitely one that can produce more fair results, almost, in the sense that there's likely no longer this two-party system that would exist, and instead there would be better representation for like underrepresented parties or third parties, whatever it may be. But I'm not too sure if implementing ranked choice voting in our country would actually end up shifting really like the demographics or the actual parties that are represented. I would be curious to see, if we did implement it, if we would end up seeing a large shift away from Democrats and Republicans to somewhat larger third parties or even more independent candidates. I'm just not sure. I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if it was implemented, though.
I feel like I'm kind of on the same page as you, Ben, but I'm also kind of optimistic because I didn't know much about ranked choice voting until I kind of got involved in this. And I feel like it's honestly like a pretty viable solution for bridging like this polarizing like divide that we have in America right now. And when I like started to learn more of it, I felt almost like revitalized. I was like, wait, this could really be something, like, because like I feel like young voters, especially like people like my age and like us, I feel a little bit disillusioned by the whole two-party system, the whole like my vote. I feel like my vote, honestly, like maybe it doesn't even matter, but I don't know. Ranked choice voting, man, I'm totally on board.
I'll put myself on board as well, just kind of with one clarification. I think when we talk about ranked choice voting, we're also talking about it, or at least my assumption is, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, that we're talking about it kind of in conjunction with the proportional representation idea, where you have the larger district and you're not just electing one representative per district, you're representing 4 or 5 or something like that from a larger district. If you look at, the fair representation plan for Fair Vote Virginia, you've got the current district set up right now where you have something like, 8 or 10 districts in Virginia. And if you look at the map, they're all gerrymandered to hell. Then you look at the fair representation plan where you have big old district in the north, big old district in the east, big old district in the center and west. And you're talking about electing probably 3, 4, 5, depending on population, representatives from each place. Now, a ranked choice system could give you an outcome where you've got, let's just say for Northern Virginia, 2 Democrats, a Republican, and then a third party candidate in there. Now you've broken out of the whole winner take all binary, you're one thing or you're the other system that we've got going on now. Because coming back to what Eve's been saying, the current system is so polarized, and the way it's going right now, I don't see that getting any better with any change. I think people are just further and further trenching in. So I'm definitely in favor of moving to a system like this. Now, do I know if it's going to happen or how easy it's going to be? That's a whole different issue right there, but I'd put myself in favor of it.
I would also have to throw my support behind the concept of ranked choice voting, particularly kind of piggybacking off of what Eve said. As someone who myself often feels not necessarily that my vote doesn't matter, but that the people that I have the option to vote for don't necessarily reflect my own values and what I want to see in the governance of this country, I feel like ranked choice voting is a great way to broaden the stage of candidates and really allow voters to find someone that they can throw their weight behind and support and still have a chance at making an impact within their own governance by throwing their weight behind that candidate. So thank you all so much for your comments. I feel like this was a really good discussion. And that is all for today's Aircast. Thank you to our participants for all of your great comments, and thank you live stream audience for watching and for your questions. Oh, one moment, actually. Let me check something right here. Okay, yep. So thank you live stream audience for watching. And now, if you go to the first post on the us.onair.cc homepage, you can learn more about today's news, view videos and live streams, and comment on this Aircast. Thank you all again for being here, and everyone have a great day.